We got a call from the White House. Reagan was headed off to Moscow to meet Gorbachev. They said, we heard about this Soviet immigrant living the American dream, building a business on a staple from the Soviet Union.
What happens?
Reagan meets with Gorbachev and he says,
she took an ancient drink and built a modern wellness empire. Julie Smolyansky became the youngest female CEO of a publicly traded company and made Kefir a household name. From refugee roots to fearless leadership, this is her story.
The youngest female CEO in the history of the country.
They have said, there's no way a 27-year-old girl could run this company. That's it. Company's over. Sell all your stock. And the board votes me in as CEO.
What is kefir?
A 2,000-year-old ancient superfood. Those people that consumed it, they lived past 100 years of age.
That is unbelievable.
When you hear of people's health crisis and how Kefir and Lifeway has helped them, that is a miracle.
Wow.
That is all the reason why we do it.
How important is it that you or your family runs the business?
Well, today,
Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of the Zeitgeist podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Galanis, and I'm so excited for today's guest. Julie Smolyansky is a very, very good friend, and she's hot off the first ever National Kefir holiday. And we'll be celebrating with a drone show here in Chicago tonight over Lake Michigan. So while you will see this episode in a week, the drone show is going to be epic, and hopefully by the time it's on, we can get some footage of it too. Anyways, Julie is the CEO of Kefir Lifeway. It is an incredible company. She has an amazing story. I can't wait for you all to hear it. Julie, welcome to the pod.
thank you so much for having me, Steve. It's such an honor and privilege, truly, actually.
I'm so happy with all of our season 1 guests, and you've been such a good friend and a great partner, both on the Cameo for Business side and through everything we do in YPO together. So we're so excited to go tell your story because it's an incredible one and an amazing brand.
Thank you.
So first off, for those that haven't ever tried it, because I know even walking around the office today, there were a lot of people that are like, wow, I taste this. This is great. What is kefir?
Okay, so kefir is a 2,000-year-old ancient superfood that originated in the Caucasus Mountains, where, think Ukraine, Russia, former Soviet Union, that whole region. And this product was filled with storytelling and folklore. It was really passed down generation to generation, babushka to babushka, grandmother to grandmother. And those people that consumed it, they lived past 100 years of age, and they attributed their longevity to their consumption of kefir. And since then, they considered it like a gift from the gods. They felt that they experienced a sense of well-being. And actually, in Turkish, the word kayf is like buzz, like good feeling. So they said when they drank kefir, they felt like a little buzz. And it's because of this fermentation process that happens. So it's probiotic, and we put live active cultures into milk, and it inoculates and it ferments, and it takes about 18 to 24 hours or so. And the process of fermentation has tremendous health benefits that are just now starting to be understood and researched. But the first scientist, Dr. Elie Metchnikoff, who's considered the father of immunity, he did the first round of studies on kefir in 1908, and he won a Nobel Prize for his research. And he found that kefir has beneficial health properties. And so since that time in 1908, the research in science has only started to explode in a massive way. And actually the pandemic even helped that, because, there was a race to find, cures and how to boost your immune system, et cetera, et cetera. And so more science in the last decade has happened on kefir, fermented milk, and probiotics and the microbiome than any other area at any other time. It's amazing. It's really, we're at a tipping point at this iceberg of this understanding that food is medicine. And so that's the background of kefir specifically.
Oh, also amazing. We're talking about longevity, right? And You're saying for hundreds of years, people knew that they're drinking this and they're living longer. As we get into your amazing story, it is, you have to point out that all these big macro trends that are happening now. Everybody cares about their gut biome. They care about longevity. It continues to be a tailwind for what you're doing. And you have this natural product that's, been around for 2,000 years. It's proven to have had health benefits. So I'm so excited to share the story of how we got here and then your journey also. So going all the way back, your parents immigrated from the Soviet Union, and there's a classic story that I love hearing you tell about your mom and dad kind of walking into grocery stores in the US. So talk about them coming to Chicago, them walking in and seeing this land of plenty, and then what was missing.
So we immigrated through a slit in the Iron Curtain. I was born at the height of the Cold War in 1975. My dad promised on the day I was born that he would get me out of the Soviet Union and out of communism. And so we were in exile 3 months in Rome. We landed in Chicago in 1976, August 4, almost exactly 49 years ago. It was 100 degrees. We came with one suitcase and $116 in our pocket. An infant. They didn't speak a word of English. We were the first 48 families that were settled in Chicago from the Soviet Union at that time. The year before us, just 12. So there were no language resources. There was no help. We were just really thrown to the wolves. My mom learned English watching General Hospital and Dynasty. And then my dad was an electrical engineer. He was a mechanical engineer. And so he walked around the streets of Chicago, found broken electronics in alleyways, would repair them. And that's how we survived. You'd like sell them off. And so we survived for a few weeks that way. So when they walked into a grocery store, they literally fell to their knees. They cried. They couldn't believe how much food there was. And, they told me stories of bread lines, of standing in line all day for a chicken only to get to the front of the line and all the chickens are gone, or toilet paper. And they didn't have toilet paper. They would scrunch up newspaper. And I know a big client of yours is a partner of Dude Wipes. That would have been epic in the Soviet Union. But no, they literally scrunched up toilet paper, scrunched up newspaper for toilet paper. So hard times. So they couldn't believe it. And what was missing was Kefir, which was a staple for them. They grew up from birth till death, cradle to grave. Everyone in the Soviet Union consumes kefir, and largely for the medicinal properties because it's passed down. It's known to have health benefits for my community. They couldn't believe it, that it wasn't in existence. And my dad had Crohn's disease, so he needed this. He started to feel the symptoms of his health condition without having kefir. So that sort of started the idea. And in 1985, so just to backtrack, my mother opened up the first Soviet, Ukrainian, Russian, Slavic deli in Rogers Park off of Devon. So she recognized that all these other Soviet immigrants would be coming. There was an exodus all the way through Perestroika. And they would come to America and they wouldn't have any of their Slavic foods that they were used to. So that started the entrance into the food industry. She later became an importer and distributor of Eastern European food. So they were in Germany on a food buying at a trade show. They walked into the German grocery store and they bought 3 bottles of kefir there because throughout Eastern Europe, not just the Soviet Union, there were a few bottles of kefir scattered throughout Europe. They bought 3 bottles. My dad drank 1 bottle right outside of the store.
And he missed it so much, right?
He's like, this is like my childhood. This is so nostalgic. I can't believe. And this was the sentence: America has everything, but it doesn't have kefir. And my mom said, well, you're an engineer. You know how to build plants and design machinery and equipment. Why don't you start making it and I'll distribute it in my distribution system? And it was born right there. 6 months later, he incorporated the business. I mean, growing up in our basement in Skokie, he would disappear for hours fermenting, like pots of milk. Just the smell of fermented milk just permeated throughout our house. And I got the very first tablespoon of Lifeway Kefir ever. It just hit my lips, and it was this sour, tangy, effervescent, just delicious sip. And I will never forget it. And every time I drink it today, I remember that. And so that's what no business plan, no logo, barely spoke, still, kind of broken English, but this dream, this desire that, this knowledge that in America, you can do anything if you work hard.
One other amazing part of this story that I was reading as I was doing research for this that I hadn't heard you tell me is that you got your grandmother from the Soviet Union to actually send like a culture. Talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one too. You dug deep, Steve. I like it. Yeah. So when my dad was starting this, this idea, he needed the bacteria. It's very important. So he called my grandma, who was still in the Soviet Union, and relayed to her to send us bacterial culture. So she stuck it in between children's tights for us, like children's books, children's tights. She just put a little bit in there. It's probably contraband. So, but we got it in, and from that culture, he started to grow that same bacteria. So every time you drink Lifeway Kefir, you're getting a little bit of the original culture from the Soviet Union 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, that is unbelievable.
Thank you.
So you've got a plant now. You've got distribution. Business is going.
Booming.
Talk about the early days.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I was 11 years old when I hit my first convention, my first trade show. I remember Lee Iacocca's daughter was launching an olive oil, the very first olive oil in America. And my dad walked me over to her and to Lee, and we had a conversation. And we walked away, and my dad was like so blown away. Lee Iacocca, I had no idea who that was. But he said to me, one day you're going to be just like Lee's daughter. And that was a really special moment. But, the business was booming because all the Soviets already knew what kefir was. They didn't need marketing or advertising. They missed it. This was
and the timing of this is really interesting, right? Because we're talking like
Cold War.
Yeah, but specifically the business is getting going right as the Iron Curtain is being lifted. So you're starting to get more and more Eastern Euros and ex-Soviet people coming in to go live in the United States. They're looking for the things that they were missing, and this flywheel just starts going.
Yeah, and it was like blowing up. So then at the same time, the natural food, like organic market starts growing. Whole Foods is opening stores in a couple of places. Wild Oats, old store, got acquired by Whole Foods. All these like little co-ops, mom and pop natural grocers started, opening up. And kind of health enthusiasts, we would say, like really healthy people who were in the know, I would say were like the early influencers, the early adapters. They would tell everyone what they were eating and how to, live 100 years, et cetera. So we're kind of on the cusp of two trends, the Europeans for whom, this was a staple, and these new health enthusiasts. So kind of two great tailwinds behind us. And the company was growing so fast, my dad needed more capital. So somebody said, you should go public. And he had no idea what that meant. So he went to the Skokie Public Library and pulled out Dewey Decimal System and started researching what it meant, wrote his own business plan there in the library. And we went public at $600,000 in revenue. Like, it's unheard of today.
Yeah.
Nobody would, it was ridiculous. We were supposed to go public on, Black Monday, Black Tuesday, Black Monday. In 87, the stock market crashed. And he was devastated, and he couldn't go public.
Black Tuesday, I think.
Something like, we have to pull out. I mean, I was a kid, but so. Yeah,
because you guys were going to go public that day, right?
Yeah, that day.
And then luckily you got to pull out before the market.
We had to pull out, yeah. And
then how long was the delay?
6 months later.
6 months later, wow.
And he had to bring more cash to the table, but he had already gotten all the cash that he could find to do it. So he went to all his friends and got cash. And $50,000 cash. Yeah, that's what was the difference to go, wait 6 months. And he got on a plane with $50,000 in cash for the closing, just in case if he needed more money. Like, all from his friends just gave him whatever cash they had. So it was a really crazy story. So things were going really great. We keep growing. We're on the cover of like Time, not the cover. we were in Time magazine. Jesse Jackson was running for president. He was on the cover. And there was an article about my dad and, this American dream, this crazy
what did
story.
that feel like both for him? I can imagine the pride of coming over with $116 in his pocket, not speaking a word of English, going from being an engineer in the Soviet Union to like doing odd jobs to just make it rent. And so many of the entrepreneurs listening to this, people have a dream. They don't have money to get going. This is an amazing story of resilience. And to think that all of a sudden, you're in Time magazine. What a moment.
He couldn't believe it. I mean, it truly, he was on top of the world. And it was a moment of success, not just for him, but for the entire community. He really paved the way and inspired the entire Soviet community who followed along.
And in fact, he was the first person from the Soviet Union to ever take a company public in the United States.
That's right. Even before Sergey Brin at Google, he did it first. Yeah. So really historic, milestones, achievements for not just Soviet immigrants, but for all immigrants. I think anybody can look to our story as an example of what can be possible. And it comes with blood, sweat, and tears. It was not without a cost. It's true. It's not an easy journey. So as we're growing and all this media is happening, I mean, he was blown away. The phones were off the hook. We got a call from the White House, and Reagan was headed off to Moscow to meet Gorbachev. And they said, we heard about this Soviet immigrant living the American dream in Chicago, building a business on a staple from the Soviet Union. Can you send us a case? It's possible. Reagan is considering taking some to Gorbachev. So we sent a case. As I'm told, they take it on Air Force One, and Reagan meets with Gorbachev, and he says, this is an example of what your countrymen are doing in our country. And you're having a mass exodus of knowledge and culture and people because of your policies. You could have this, tear down your wall. This was part of the conversation.
Wow.
And we got a nice letter and everything. And so we really feel like we were part of that process. Later, I got the privilege and opportunity to travel to Moscow on a delegation with the UN, with Ted Turner and Kofi Annan and all these incredible diplomats. And I got to meet Gorbachev, and I spent 15 minutes with him, and he remembered the story. He knew of me, of my father. He told me how proud he was of me and what we've done. And he said, keep going. And we cried for, some time.
And think about how surreal that moment is, right? The day you were born, you said earlier, your dad was so fed up with communism that he made a pledge that he was going to get you out of the country.
Yep.
And they were going to build a better life. And now you have the head of the Soviet Union telling you how proud he is of your dad and you's entrepreneurial pursuits. Unbelievable.
It makes my, it gives me chills. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that journey, and what a miracle all of that, how it unfolded. But, we followed our gut literally all along in this process. And no matter how many times, people laughed at my dad or laughed at his, his accent or told him he was crazy, he didn't care. I think you have to be crazy to do some of this stuff. You have to be crazy to believe in yourself so strongly that you think you could really do anything. And my dad told me, Julie, you could do anything you want in the world except be the president of the United States, only because you weren't born here. So, I really do feel like it is a land of opportunity. And, if you have a good idea and you work hard, you could achieve all of your dreams.
So as an immigrant, like you, your dad, the company is on top of the world. Gorbachev is, drinking your product and using you as an example. You're in Time magazine, the company's public, and then something really bad happens.
Yeah.
And this story takes a huge turn.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I was working for my dad for about 5 years. after college. I was originally going to be a psychologist. I was in grad school and for psychology. I worked as an in-home family counselor. I worked with really challenging stories and children and families. And then I got into kind of a little bit of a crisis and almost died in the middle of a gang fight. And I kind of quit my job that night. And I just called my dad. I said, can I just work for you part-time while I finish out grad school? I was with him for just 2 weeks, and I'm just listening to all the stories that he's telling and how, Kefir can change the world and, change your life and improve your life and health. And I thought, why I could kind of change the world, as cliche as that is, and help people through a for-profit business with my dad and help him. And I did not come back for my second year of grad school. I ended up full-time with my dad. I became the director of sales and marketing. He was so happy because he begged me to take a business class in college. And I was like, no, capitalism is bad. I'm not going to be a part of that, And so I never took a business class. And then when I came full-time, he was like, oh, I'm so grateful, but I wish you took a business class. But I think a lot of it was intuitive to me. I grew up with it. But so
School of Hard Knocks.
Exactly. You learn from the experience. So things were going great. We were continuing to grow. We were about 12 million at the time in revenue, and he had a sudden heart attack, and he passed away in the summer of 2002. And I think about it all the time. And that basically threw the company into a crisis. The stock that night, all of the family friends start gathering at the surviving spouse family's home. My dad's best friend, a few feet away from me, said, "There's no way a 27-year-old girl could run this company. That's it. Company's over. Sell all of your stock." And that was a Sunday night. And so I went into the office. I was devastated by hearing that, first of all. It really set me up for, it like ignited a fire in me. And I was livid, and my father taught me how to fight. My father loved to trigger me, to get a response out of me, to teach me how to fight. He always told me, "Julie, you have to know how to take a punch, but you have to know how to give a punch too." And so he said, this world is hard and you need to learn how to fight, especially as a woman. So
stock is now tanking overnight.
Yeah, Monday morning,
the
tanks.
board comes and convenes.
NASDAQ halts trading because
NASDAQ halts trading. Like, this is
never
as bad
happens.
as it can
Very
get.
bad crisis. Yeah,
And there's a board meeting.
Yeah, there's a board meeting, and one of my board members calls. We're just picking out the cemetery plot for my dad. He calls and he said, "Honey, do you know that there is a emergency board meeting tonight?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know about it." He said, "Well, yeah, the SEC council at the time was planning this board meeting, and he wants to become the CEO, and we thought you were aware." And I was like, "No, we didn't. Nobody told us." Like the family, me, whatever. I was the next person in line for my dad. I was really his right-hand person. So this was a surprise. Anyways, we call another attorney. We have another board meeting before the one that he was planning, and the board votes me in a CEO. That attorney later
And
got
hold
in.
on. I have to add this.
Okay.
27 years old, Julie becomes the youngest CEO of a publicly traded company in American history.
Youngest female CEO.
Female CEO.
Yes.
The youngest
Maybe
female
youngest person, but
the youngest female CEO in the history of the country. So now what happens?
Well, I mean, it was still crisis. I had no idea how to do that. And, basically, we just start building the company out. I mean, I made small decisions like we need to put a sign outside of the door. That was one of my first decisions. Somehow, all these years, we never had a sign outside of our corporate headquarters. I said, let's put a sign out there. It's just this idea of like making a decision, learning how to make a decision, and just, Was there something else that you were thinking about?
No.
That you heard
So
that was
the
just
other
so
thing I was
crazy?
thinking about is like, obviously when you came in, you were really helping out on sales and marketing,
Yeah.
especially. And there's something very different about like a engineer CEO or a product CEO versus somebody that is actually like just has the natural sales and marketing intuition.
Yeah.
So talk about like kind of day one, your dad's gone, engineer, and all of a sudden now you're running the show. Like what changed at the company?
Well, I wanted to modernize it. I always wanted to like bring it more current. I think my dad was more focused on the kind of Slavic ethnic market. I was more focused on kind of mass market,
Health.
health, yoga, people my age, women. I was surprised like why young people weren't drinking it as much as they could be or should be. We were the first company to write probiotic, for example, on the label. The microbiome, as I mentioned, is a huge place of study, and nobody was talking about it in America. My dad always said, they'll talk about calcium or protein, but they won't talk about good bacteria because bacteria freaks Americans out. And I thought, well, all we have is these benefits. I don't have $100 million marketing and advertising budget. I just have my crazy story. I have my story, my dad's story, and the benefits of the product. So let's lean into that. So we were the first to write probiotics. We really started the conversation around gut health. No one was talking about gut health. I mean, we've been doing this now 40 years. So, and I even remember like customers would call and say, oh, I want the kefir that's not probiotic. So we had to educate people on what probiotics are, what gut health is, why you want, foods with a diverse range of bacteria in them. And so we really just set out to, to build awareness and trial on the product. And I mean, we did unhinged things. Like I brought a list of
Julie
unhinged.
brought her list of the 4 most unhinged things she did to grow the business. So I think this is the time.
This
Let's hear
is
it.
this stuff is epic. Okay, so first, we launched a product, and it's really hard to get new products on the shelves.
Yeah.
So we had an intern call every single Dominick's pretending to be a customer, and basically by the second day, we had corporate office calling us, asking us to come in to present the product, even though they had told us no many times. But this intern called like all of the like 150
Hey,
grocery stores.
lesson to all you interns out there, you could make an impact.
You really could. It was awesome. Okay, then also when we got products on the shelves, we would have all of our friends drive around and buy them off the shelves, and then we would just resell it. The store would call, this is flying off the shelf. It's doing great. Here's more space. Come in, please replenish our shelves. So we would sell like the same product over and over and over again until it was able to stand on its own and had authentic.
Yeah, and by the way,
customer
and then the
base.
more you're selling, the faster it's selling out, like the better placement you're getting on the shelves.
Absolutely.
And then when it's got better placement, people are discovering it. Because, I'm thinking about what you were just talking about. You knew that you had this intuition that younger people should be drinking it. You knew to build a really big business, it couldn't stay within the niche of
Yep.
just the Slavic people coming over. So, talk to me about how you got into the youth there.
Yeah, so I mean, it started with a lot of sponsorships of like 5Ks and runs, marathons, etc. I remember, waking up at 3 a.m. on a February, driving over to the plant, opening up the plant, going into a cold refrigerator, loading up my car, case after case of samples, driving over to the lakefront in frigid, icy weather, putting up a booth. And I did it all by myself. This was before we had a large team.
Yeah.
And standing there at the finish line, passing out samples, a lot of things like that. There was a lot of that. Just any time that we could get product in the hands for people, like sponsoring yoga events. Now that's a big industry, like the wellness activations, yoga events. Again, I think it's something we started, probably one of the first companies to like hold a yoga event and then offer people like free Lifeway Kefir at the end of it. Okay, once we sponsored, like Disney was opening up Animal Kingdom when they just launched it. So they brought a kind of Animal Kingdom to Chicago. So we sponsored it, and we took all of our labels, before there were like sticker labels, and we just we covered people in labels, like walking billboards. Or once we put stickers on all of the signs around Chicago. I'm sure the city of Chicago was not happy. But, we did just crazy things like that just to get the name out. Anything that we could do for free, of course, was also amazing.
So, you're putting stickers around Chicago, but this is a brand that has kind of exploded all over the country. As you've first found kind of product market fit with the Slavic community that just come over here, or people that have been in the Chicagoland for a while that maybe, they would go back, they'd go back to Eastern Europe and they would try this when they're home in the summer and they're eating it. How did you start like breaking out of that initial cohort and like get it into other cities? Like talk to me a little bit about that story.
Well, I'll just even step a couple moments back. So when my dad would go on some of the sales calls originally, so like he went over to Dominic's and the category buyer tried it the first time. So the first SKUs were just plain.
Yeah.
So plain tastes like buttermilk or sour cream, tart, tangy. And the category manager said, Mike, this is great, but if you want to sell this in America, you need to put sugar in and flavor in. And so for the first time, it was brilliant. Nobody had thought to put flavors into kefir for 2,000 years. So my dad tried it and it was amazing. And it just, that was a game changer.
What was the first flavor?
Strawberry.
Strawberry.
Yeah, strawberry. Raspberry, peach, blueberry. Now we have like over 200 flavors and all sorts of varieties and like cool things like matcha latte,
It was like guava, jackfruit, pistachio.
A lot of, inspired by Dubai chocolate, the Dubai chocolate bars. That was a big moment. Another thing was changing the label. So after my dad passed away, we went from just a small sticker label to a full shrink sleeve wrap, which gave us a lot of opportunity to write about the product, to promote it, to make the graphics more vibrant and beautiful. So that label change was a big change too. That was the thing that took us into the next level, next stratosphere. And then I would say just because the whole industry, natural food started to go from obscure, fringe, crazy, crunchy hippies to mass market. And all of the mass market grocery stores started recognizing that they needed to get more kind of healthier, better for you options. So they started opening kind of store within a store concepts within their big grocery store. They would give us a little space,
a little pop-up.
Yeah, a little, in the corner somewhere. But people went. But that was the start. That was the beginning of it.
And was it in those a lot of free samples, I would assume?
Lots of demos, lots of samples.
You're talking about the 5Ks, like coming there pouring
yoga.
God, so
many demos.
How many? Yeah, just an
demo
unlimited amount.
Unlimited amount of demos. And just day after day at the store. That's what my, summer vacations were, running around to stores and doing demo after demo.
What did you learn from the demos? Like obviously there's, when you're talking to your customers as an entrepreneur, it's such an important thing, but what are some of the stark insights that you specifically remember, as you're kind of giving these demos out, you're exposing people to this thing they've never had before. And even though it's something that, you and your family have had for so long, like what were like the learnings? What'd you hear from them? Good and bad.
Well, the number one thing is to smile and to be friendly. A lot of people, I'm surprised how many people who work behind, a demo table are not, and they're kind of annoyed with being there. But you have to love the product.
Yeah.
And I did. You have to have a passion. I think like what I hear from other people, they say my passion is contagious. And I do feel like I have a huge amount of passion for the space and wellness in general. But like, I think that every single time I talk to a customer, to me, it feels like it's the first one I've ever talked to. And I bring that same level of enthusiasm for the millionth customer that I've told the same exact thing to for the last 40 years. The same level as when I was 11, as passionate as I am today.
Yeah.
And that hasn't changed. And it always feels like the first time. And I'll stand and talk to anybody for as long as they want about the products.
No, and people can literally, obviously being right here, like I feel it and I know they can feel it through the screen too.
Thank you. I love Lifeway and Kefir for sure. I remember all the customers that I've talked to, it is so special, especially when you hear of people's health crisis and how Kefir and Lifeway has helped them. I mean, one of the calls that I remember that really changed my trajectory at the company, I was there late at night with my dad, and a woman called from New York, and she was like, I have Crohn's disease or irritable bowel disease syndrome, and she had to have 80% of her digestive tract removed. She was scheduled to have this surgery to deal with it. And she said, on a whim, a friend of mine told me to try Lifeway Kefir. So I went out and tried it. And within 2 weeks, I felt symptom free. I'm off all of the meds that I was on, and I canceled my surgery. And I thought, wow, that is a miracle. And I mean, think about how many millions of people we can save from this, very risky, horrible, expensive surgery. Nobody wants to go through that. And then I hear the same thing around cancer patients who've gone through chemo, and the only thing that they can digest and hold down is Kefir. That's my why. Like, that is all the reason why we do it. There's nothing better than to improve someone's health and wellness and just give them some joy in their day. And this is one of the best investments, bang for the bucks, I guess.
So when you get those customer stories, right? And at Cameo, we get this in reaction videos. Somebody will buy a Cameo for, it's a gift to their idols, wishing them happy birthday or congratulating them on graduating from college or any of the occasions that come. And like, we watch the person that bought it film the person they bought it for watching it.
Right.
And these reaction videos are like
The
what
best.
made us, like that's what made Cameo Cameo. In yours, when you're hearing these on the phone, how did you transfer like the knowledge that you're hearing from the customer feedback and actually like start telling that story at scale?
Yeah. So I think, one of the great benefits of being a young leader was that I was able to kind of see things in a way that maybe my very older counterpart executives weren't seeing yet. So think about what was happening when we were, well, I'm a little bit older than you, but
Facebook, MySpace.
So MySpace, right? MySpace.
Yep.
So that's where I was headed. We developed children's products called ProBugs. We brought the first pouch to America. We innovated that whole space and disrupted the baby food space. So we launched the first pouch in America for kids. And they had little cartoon characters of the good bacteria, and each little bug had a little story. So I kind of humanized the friendly bacteria. Instead of a cartoon cow, we had a cartoon friendly bacteria, So it was a great opportunity to put these characters on MySpace. So they each had a profile and they would start talking with customers. That was one thing. And then after that, Twitter and Facebook, we were the 5th company on Twitter.
Wow.
It was Sun Microsystem, ComEd to get all the complaints. People would tweet complaints about ComEd, Starbucks, Whole Foods, Lifeway.
All right. And how did you like, is it just because
Literally.
you were really early, or did you know people? How did you become the 5th company on Twitter? That's unbelievable.
I was like, I don't understand why brands aren't on Twitter.
So they're just scared to do it.
They
It's
just
social,
didn't know anything. I mean, I remember I would go into a YPO forum and tell my whole forum, you guys need to get on Twitter. And they're like, no, that's for creepy old men. Like, they didn't understand the power of social media. They did not. They were so far away from what our generation was
I totally
using.
remember that. I remember my first job. I'm an options trader in Chicago, and I'm like the only person going on Twitter. And like I would, we're trading commodities and something crazy would be happening across the world, and I'd be on the overnight market, and I read it there first, and other people were waiting to get the Wall Street Journal the next day.
Right. Exactly. People didn't understand how to use it yet. So early. Same thing with Facebook. I put literally I was up at 3 a.m. It was maybe 2007, maybe earlier. And I literally put us on Twitter, and I was personally doing the tweets and the posts. Like, it was ridiculous. But that's what in the beginning, you test it out, you see how it works, you see what you need. So put Lifeway on Facebook, A few days later, Facebook would take Lifeway down and they would say brands are not allowed to exist on Facebook. Later, they obviously realized that that's their revenue stream. So we're back on. But Vogue magazine, this is one of the moments I knew we made it. Vogue magazine wrote an article about us and they said, Lifeway's early use of social media created an avant-garde status and a cult-like following. I'll never forget that quote.
Yeah.
It was validation that I did the right thing and that we just boomerang, like it dropped our demographic by 15 years. It's very hard to lower your age demographic and you want new users. We want new generations. You know, we've been around for 4 decades now. We've raised babies. They're, you know, our babies that we've been giving kefir to are becoming grandparents.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. Yeah. I mean, it's really special. But so that was one of the ways that really changed the game for us. And the fact that we were first to market there and we were able to communicate these health benefits. And
I wanted to ask about that. Like, you get on, nobody else is on. You're on so early that Facebook is kicking you off because you're not a college student or any of the reasons they weren't allowing brands originally.
Right. What
content was resonating as you built this like rabid audience? Like, what were you putting out there that really, really resonated, and what started to help you guys go viral on social?
Always health, new research, new health science. People really want to hear that there's some science behind it. There's so much snake oil in our industry, so it's important to have real science behind it. We would share things like that, recipes. I wrote a whole cookbook to try to help people understand ways to use kefir. Storytelling, you know, people love a good origin story, folklore, things that gave us authenticity, even mistakes, even when we, you know, had grammar mistakes, which often happens. It humanized us and it like made it okay. But yeah, I mean, a lot of health information, or whenever like a celebrity would use it, or we would get wind that a celebrity would use it, we would share that kind of content. And it just started to go viral. And when other people would use it and share and post, then we would reshare their content. So we were really like early to market on that like idea of influencer marketing, content creation. I mean, I read a book, I'm sure a lot of people, I highly recommend still, Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point.
The best. That's my single favorite, one of my favorite books of all time.
Same with me. I mean, it was really the blueprint for Lifeway. This idea of like finding your influencers, your connectors,
like the story of like, I think it was Hush Puppies, the shoes, right? It was like a couple hipsters in Brooklyn that just made this brand that was about to go bankrupt. All of a sudden it becomes huge. And so many of the stories we're going to tell on the podcast have that moment like that, where, you know, maybe it's a brand that's been around a long time and something reignites it, but it always comes with finding that niche, cultivating it, and then getting those people to spread the gospel of
Absolutely. That's exactly, after reading that book, it really just, it made sense. Okay, I know what we need to do. As many of these kind of ambassadors that we can bring on that represent and different stakeholders like nutritionists, dietitians, you know, young people, runners, you name it, like across the gamut, because everyone has a community.
Right.
And we're here for everybody. We're in all generations, not just my generation or older generation. So yeah.
So you mentioned early days of like social media, you know, celebrities and influencers are starting, or what would be called influencers, because nobody was calling it yet, are starting to like acknowledge that they use the product, they love the product. Take me through some of those like ones that you're just like, I can't believe they are drinking this, or I can't believe they love it.
I made a list again, the other list. Okay, so one of the first ones was Oprah when she was like dieting, and she had her chef Rosie, and Rosie had strawberry kefir in the bottle. Oprah still did not know what it was, and she pulls it out and she goes, I don't know what this is, but Rosie has me drinking it. And so that was one of the moments.
On TV?
That was on TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you see a huge spike in sales after that?
People were calling. They
Cool.
said, "Oh, I saw you on Oprah. I saw you on Oprah." Like Oprah didn't know, but other people knew. It definitely like prompted more purchase and curiosity. People visiting websites. Okay, Kim Kardashian was one. She was it was at Sundance Film Festival, and we had a little activation there, and she took a picture with it, unprovoked. She took a picture and posted it. That was another one. Yeah, I mean, there were kind of a lot like that. And now we have it all. I mean, Bethany Frankel posted about it, and Farmer's Cheese, which is another legacy product that we made, have been making for almost 40 years. But yeah, and it's so exciting every time. And I hear it all the time now. And it's not like, well, when we were doing first rounds of trials and sampling, people would look at it and say, is this like Pepto-Bismol? Like, what is this? I don't know. And, so now people know what it is.
And know what it is also, with 200 plus SKUs, right? Like you've got collagen, like there's just so many things that are happening. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when they do, you guys have this business, it starts with the, no flavor, and then you get the flavor, you start, obviously new flavors always make sense. Mm-hmm. How do you balance kind of like continue to double down on your core versus like finding expansionary products? And where does it become where have you found it become a distraction versus like something that really is accretive to the rest of the business? I think a lot of us struggle with that.
I agree. And it's really hard. I hate when the team wants to do SKU rationalization meetings, because each one of these SKUs are my babies. Yeah. There is not a product that hasn't been innovated, because of me. Yeah. I'll just be honest. So I
have to imagine I feel the same here. Sometimes you have ideas that don't work.
I know.
Like, have you killed them?
I've had to kill some.
And what's the one that keeps you up at night? What is your favorite product you had to kill?
I mean, there are so many. I'm sad that we don't have the non-dairy version. Yeah. We tried it. So you have to live under a rock to not know. But when this plant-based movement happened, the alt-dairy movement, it was very devastating to the business. That was one of the most challenging times in the business. And I mean, overnight, practically, like the whole world decided that milk was evil, and they would just shame you if you had any kind of dairy product. So we had to launch a non-dairy version to give it, to give the community what they wanted. It didn't last. The pendulum has swung fully back to high premium, full fat dairy, just the best dairy that we could find. People are really kind of off of the non-dairy, but I do think that there is a place for it. And I think we should have maybe kept one SKU or two SKUs just to give people an option. Yeah. That's always hard, but it didn't make sense anymore. And then there's just like flavors that I love that are gone, or flavors, at least we bring them back limited edition. They're kind of quick in and outs. They're fun. But I think it's important so this balance of the core versus the kind of new fun things. I think that having these new innovative flavors gives the team a reason to get in to talk to their buyers, to establish their connection. Everyone wants to know what's new. Yeah. They want to hear what's new. It gives the opportunity to talk to media and just to bring up your brand again and make it relevant, especially when you have a legacy brand that's been around for multiple decades. But they don't all last, and some of them do have to get discontinued, and we mourn those, but we think about future ones. Like guava is a great one.
And by the way, just like anything, there are setbacks, but there's been a lot of success. And as we look all the way forward to today, right, this business under your leadership has gone from 12 million in sales to 200 million in sales.
We'll
and you've now had, how many consecutive quarters of growth?
22 consecutive quarters of growth. Basically the last 5 years. Yeah, consistent. We've doubled our revenue in the last 5 years. We've returned, shareholder return is up 1,000%. Our EBITDA has gone from $3 to like 27, and we're on target to 47 to 50 by 2027. Yeah, we are growing like crazy, and we're really at a tipping point right now. It's really exciting. And yeah, so like our core products are everywhere. I would say like 3-4 SKUs, our top 3 to 4 SKUs are everywhere. Walmart, Target, Whole Foods, Air One, everywhere. And then we have all of our various like innovative new things, and those go into smaller stores or more
Specialty
health
stores.
Yeah. And then as those get success and traction, if they work and there is success, then they start going into the Walmarts of the world, into Amazon. But I will say that model is kind of being flipped on its head, because I am watching Walmart, Amazon, Target, like the big guys, the ones who do give scale, getting to the marketplace faster with new innovation. They no longer want the core products. They want the cool stuff before anyone else has it. They want it before the upscale, trendy, they want to be the trendsetters now. They want to be the tastemakers.
Which is great.
It's awesome. It's great for me. Yeah. And I also think that they've become much more, with like an established brand, or probably with startups too, much more collaborative in what they want and what they're looking for, and like giving us direction. Like, we're looking for this, or we're looking for that, or, so we can really innovate for them. I have another, as I'm talking, I have another innovative. So one time, you might have been there, the Economic Club of Chicago had Howard Schultz as the keynote speaker. So I got my way into the dais, into the speaker room. This is an unhinged thing. I had a small bottle of Kefir in my cocktail purse, and it's black tie. So black tie.
Hey, it's like the legacy of sneaking the bacteria into the kids' clothes, smuggling it in. You smuggle into the Economic Club of Chicago behind the dais.
In my little purse. And I was first to be in the room because I like wanted his time before, he got swarmed. So I'm standing there. He walks in, he sees me, he comes right to me. I'm like, Howard, I have a product for you. And I pull out my Lifeway. And we had a nice conversation. He gave me his number, an email, and we talked, and we had a nice, he hasn't brought in Lifeway yet, but maybe this is the reason that they do.
You know what? That's such a good at bat, right? And I see, I've been guilty of it. I think we've all been guilty of it. There's that person there that actually could make, could make a huge change in your business, and you don't go up to them. You don't tap them on the shoulder. You don't like shoot your shot.
You gotta shoot your shot.
I tell our talent team all the time, right? It's like it's not a no, it's not yet.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to keep going.
Never give up. Keep going. And, the worst thing that he says is no, or I'm not interested,
and if they
or
say
you're an
no,
idiot and turns around.
And if
I don't
they
care.
say no, you're in the same place you are right now, which that Starbucks doesn't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not yet. But
not
maybe
yet.
this
not
will be
yet.
it.
Not yet.
Yeah. You can dream. And I'm sure that there will be a time when it's there, because like we're in CVS, we're in, you name it. We're at the airport in the vending machine at Terminal 3 H12 at ORD.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
What is the most unhinged marketing idea that you were really excited about that you ended up not doing for some reason?
Oh gosh, I think I do all of the unhinged ones. Okay, the unhinged thing that we're doing right now for the 40th anniversary and our National Kefir Day, which is June 18th, so we launched a tattoo challenge. So if anyone would like to show their love for Lifeway for life and get a Lifeway inspired tattoo, Kefir inspired tattoo, you could win Kefir for Lifeway Kefir for a year supply.
I love it. I think that we're going to be seeing a bunch of those. In fact, we just over here, we just over here, two of our top execs just got cameo tattoos. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Yeah. Fresh.
Yeah. I think it's a nice way to show brand love for life. Definitely something unhinged. Got to do something really that, gets you out of the, everyday marketing and stand out. And, hopefully there's a viral moment there.
So obviously like taking over so young, right? And, being at this really special time where like social media is becoming a thing and like the world's just changing, by running this company, I'm sure there were like people that got into your network either through YPO or just through being a public company CEO, that you're kind of meeting the people that you're reading about. Who are some people that really inspired you and helped you take your game to the next level? And what are some brands that you really admired from a marketing perspective that you kind of felt like, hey, I love what they're doing. Like we gotta do more of that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Great questions. So Chrissy Hefner, who was the CEO of Playboy, was a huge inspiration for me. There weren't a lot of female role models for me, female entrepreneurs or CEOs.
And she probably previously was the youngest, right?
Yeah, I think she was the youngest.
So you took the
prior
mantle
to me.
from her.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember being in college and I came home and my dad was like, oh, come look, there's a special on CNN about Christy Hefner. You should watch this. I had no idea who she was at the time. And he's like, one day you're going to be just like Christy. You're going to take over this business. And that was, really, really inspirational and validation to me that my dad believed that I could do that. That sticks with me. You only need one person to believe in you. Just one person is a big game changer in your own self-confidence. So meeting Christy, I remember I was at like a benefit dinner and she was there and I had talked about, fangirled about her in the media, and the director of the organization had read that story and he walked over to me and he said, Christy's over there. Do you want to meet her? Wow. I was like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. So I did. I got to talk to her and we're now, great friends now. She's such a supportive figure for me. And but after we walked away, he said to me, one day you're going to be sitting at a table and a young woman is going to walk up to you and fangirl over you just like that. And, you're going to be in that position. And that's happened. And there's nothing more special than feeling that and kind of carrying that torch on and lighting the torch of others. That's one. But there's been so many. I mean, Ariana Huffington, I met her at a Fortune summit. She invited me to her house and hosted this like an incredible lunch for me when I launched the book. That was really special. I mean, you have Ariana Huffington inviting you to her house to help you. I mean, it's things like that. Like I'm very touched by, I got a chance to introduce Deepak Chopra. Talk about health and mindfulness and improving people's lives. And he wrote a snippet for my book. That was a great one too. I mean, that's an iconic individual, legend. So lots of people like that. And it's amazing. And every time I try not to get too starstruck, but it still happens. Do you ever get starstruck?
I mean, in my business and in your business, like we've been so fortunate to meet so many people. And, for me, I'm trying to think like I am not like a starstruck person. Obviously like a Michael Jordan or something. Like there are certain people out there, like you go meet a president, like there's another level to that. But I think it's always so interesting how these little like, in business, there's so many things could go right, could go left, right? Ariana Huffington could have like not invited you to her house. And like, you just think about the butterfly effect of all those. And it's something I've thought a lot about. As you're thinking about like, you mentioned like lighting the candle, passing the torch. Your own daughter gets to watch you every single day. And your father,
2 girls.
Two girls. And your father was such an inspiration to you. What have they learned from you?
Well, I mean, hard work. I think it's like an overnight sensation that took 2,000 years, and 40 years and 23 years. Hard work is really a big part of it. Unbridled ambition, creativeness, confidence. I think the confidence, like, and owning your story and like being comfortable with being uncomfortable, being fearless. I'm not afraid pretty much of anything at this point. I don't care. I'm in the zero fucks given era. I don't care. And I don't have anything to prove to anybody anymore. I've kind of done the things, more isn't going to make me happier. I would love to keep building this business, keep growing it, keep scaling it. My vision is to bring Lifeway Kefir to every refrigerator in the world. We are the number one brand that you've mentioned, 95% category leader in the States. We're the number one brand in Mexico. We have a huge plan for Mexico, but we're already number one there in all the Walmarts, Costco's, Suprema, like all these amazing stores. We're in the Caribbean, all throughout the Caribbean, South America, South Africa, in UAE, Dubai, parts of Europe. So, the opportunity for scaling internationally is definitely there, and we're at the forefront and we have the capacity to do it. So anyways, the girls have seen that I'm unafraid, and I think that you have to be unafraid and you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the bottom line. You're not gonna, if your fear takes over, then it's really easy to just not go do the brave thing. But I think bravery is a muscle, and the more you do it, the braver you get. The more you put yourself out there, the more opportunities you get. And I always think, you have to follow your gut. That's one thing. My intuition has really taken me far. Maybe I didn't go to Harvard, but my intuition, I can dance circles around people who did go to Harvard. So, that just being able to know that you have the intuition, you have the knowledge base, you have the survival skills. I think that's what they've learned.
How important is it that, you or your family runs the business? I'm sure at some point, right, there's, as you think hey, you've kind of accomplished everything you want, and obviously you have this much larger vision and you still got gas in the tank, right? But I think every entrepreneur, everybody that's been in that seat, sometimes it's I want to go do something new, or I feel like somebody else can take this to the next level. How do you think about that? Because I think a lot of founders and a lot of people that kind of were there from the beginning, they just, it's their baby.
It is our baby. I mean, this is my baby. I birthed it. Maybe my father founded it, but I was there from age 11 and really was kind of let it here. And I definitely do think about what is the next chapter? What would that look like? How could it continue? Who would the torch get passed on to? I think it's just too big at this point for it to be a kid, my kid taking it over. I would love for the family to stay involved on a board level.
You're not setting a goal of, hey, one of the daughters got to take over by 23. Break mom's record.
I would love it. Yeah, break a record.
Yeah.
I would love it. I think that would be really cool, actually. But no, I think they've seen the blood, sweat, and tears, and they've seen me curled up in a fetal ball on the floor crying, and all of the stress that it does, the toll that it carries, that I carry. It's hard, and it's cutthroat, and it's not for everyone. And honestly, I don't want them to have this level of struggle and pain, because as awesome as it is and as glamorous as it is, there is a lot of pain behind it as well. I mean, it is very challenging. It's very stressful. I feel like it's really hard to rest or to take a vacation. That doesn't exist for me.
Yeah, you're never off.
Never off. The work is always in the palm of my hand, and there's always things to be done. And of course, if you have high expectations of yourself and you have this level of ambition, and it's an international company, and there's, always things that I could do, and every place I go, I see opportunity. I can't turn off. I'm just wired that way.
Yeah.
Probably like my father, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And everywhere I go, I think about, I could do this. I can have this partnership. I can do this collaboration. I can do but you don't have bandwidth for everything, and you can't do everything. And you want to do the things that'll really move the needle at this point at scale. or the things that are really fun that I want to do as well. That's another way. Like, do I want to do this or not? But yeah, I can't turn off. And that's the hard part. Like, I think about all of our vacations. I think about how many hours I spent pacing in a lobby, on a call with lawyers or whatever. So that's a challenge. And they have their own dreams and passions. I don't want to project my desires onto the girls. And that's really the great thing of like being second generation for them. Or first generation. I guess I'm first gen. I don't know what I'm the generation. I'm the immigrant. They're the next generation. I think that, all of this hard work by my parents, by myself, gives them another opportunity. They don't have to struggle as much, but they have their own passions. They're gonna find their way.
And they've got a world-class, unbelievable example.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's there. As you think about the future, what most excites you about where you guys are going?
Yeah, I mean, I am really excited about all the medical research because this is the most important thing that is happening for our health.
And that's being tied in a lot to the longevity and I was just in Sweden a couple of weeks ago with Brian Johnson.
Yep.
And they're doing their the Don't Die and Superhuman Conference and a lot of the world's leading longevity experts and like you just kept hearing. But gut biome. Like you guys literally put that in the lexicon. You put it in the zeitgeist.
Yes, exactly right. It is having a moment, but it's only the beginning. We haven't even scratched the surface on the knowledge of microbiome, friendly bacteria, the impact of fermented dairy on the body. Everyone is like biohacking their health, their wellness, their longevity. Yeah, it's not just lifespan, but health span.
Right.
Your quality of health and wellness. And that we can actually manipulate our wellness and our health and all of that. I mean, the research is phenomenal. I am blown away by it myself because all the things that my dad used to tell me when I was a teenager, I would like roll my eyes because I thought he was exaggerating, but he was actually
And now you're seeing
right
in
on.
the journals.
It's for real.
Yeah.
It's real. I mean, I remember coming into his office in college. I was having a mental health crisis, really in a bad place. And I said, would you pay for a therapist? And he said, of course I'll pay for a therapist, but drink Kefir, drink Lifeway, you'll feel much better. And he was absolutely right.
Yeah.
Today, Harvard and all these other, incredible institutions have done research around Kefir and Lifeway, and they've said that there's a mind-gut connection, and that through the mind-gut access, the gut controls 80% of the serotonin, 90% of the serotonin in the gut. When you drink Kefir, neurotransmitters, GABA receptors, all of these things they're happening. There's 600 unique peptides and amino acids that are found in Kefir through the fermentation process. So these are remarkable studies now, and we now know that Kefir can help reduce stress, depression, and anxiety, that there is a mental health benefit. We now know that a recent study out of Boston came out that said they followed 130,000 people, one of the largest studies, 130,000 people over 30 years. They tracked regular consumption of fermented dairy with bacterial cultures that are found in Lifeway. They found you can reduce 20 to 30% of colon cancer by the consumption of Kefir. This is a miracle. Like, it's mind blowing. There's studies around ADHD and autoimmune diseases and allergies. So all of the diseases that we see, we talk about epidemics and these crazy autoimmune diseases. Why are there so many allergies? Why are there these? And a lot of it is because of the modern lifestyle and the dysbiosis, the imbalance of friendly bacteria in the gut. All of the disease, most of disease that we see is caused by a dysbiosis of the gut, an imbalance of the gut, and inflammation causes inflammation. And Lifeway Kefir can help reduce inflammation in the body. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions. For all the good things that social media offers, it also creates a lot of misinformation, agendas, influencers, et cetera, people who maybe don't have the science behind what they're talking about, sharing kind of misinformation. So that's something that's important to point out. But, the fact that we can manipulate our health this way, And it's in every grocery store. You don't have to go on a fancy spa retreat.
Right.
You don't have to do anything really crazy.
You don't have to buy it online.
No, you literally go to your local grocery
And it's
store,
there.
even CVS. It's there. It's the best investment, nutritional bang for the buck. It's good for your skin. We launched a collagen, a product that's infused with collagen. But kefir naturally has skin health proponents because there's a gut skin axis. So, on the set of Barbie, when they were filming it, they had a nutritionist on site, and she was tasked with creating a menu for the actors and actresses to give them glowing skin. And one of the things she had was kefir for all of them. And Margot Robbie attributes her glowing skin to her consumption of kefir on set. So, that was when my teenagers heard about this, they started telling all of their friends, and then all of their friends are buying
Get
it.
your
So
glow.
like this, exactly. The Sephora teen market is real. So yeah, it reduces acne, all of that. So, there's all this great health and wellness that we can share with the world, and improving the health of people. There's nothing better that I can do with my time than do that and work on that. And the other thing I'm really excited about is a new study that found that people in ICU can safely consume kefir as well, and that you can actually literally put it down the feeding tubes. We have 400,000 people on feeding tubes, and they have very limited things that they can consume. This can improve their lives in a major way. So I'm excited by those kinds of studies, but I'm also excited just, getting it into the hands of like the allo teenagers and like, people who just want great nutrition. Of course, everyone's talking about protein. That's the hottest thing, protein. Lifeway obviously has natural protein. But it's not just protein that we should be looking for, but high quality bioavailable protein. Not all protein is the same.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I got to go to an event recently that the current Starbucks CEO, Brian Nichols, was speaking at a dinner. And he was talking about he was basically talking about like the modern grocery store and how everything in the middle right now is struggling because of GLP-1 specifically, right? So how is that trend of people looking for like really high quality, stuff to put in them? Is GLP-1s, I know a lot of food brands, it's hurting them. Like, I'm sure this is like a tailwind.
For us, it's been a game changer too, because this is one of the number one things that you should be consuming if you're on a GLP-1.
Yeah.
So the idea is, first of all, you're not as hungry, so you're not eating the proteins. You're not seeking those out. You absolutely have to get high quality bioavailable protein.
I got to crack this open now then.
Let's do it. I'll join you.
But keep going.
So here, let's cheers.
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 And I've got my lemon here.
Yes.
So we've got the lemon flavor here because she knows I'm a Greek and I know I love my lemon.
And I'm drinking our new passion fruit lychee. Oh my God, it's so
wow,
good.
That's amazing.
I gave you your own big bottle, like a big boy. Get the
That
whole
is actually
big bottle.
amazing. And I'm really not like a Greek, even like Greek yogurt.
So good.
But that is awesome.
It's delicious, right? I know. I'm obsessed. Every time I try any one of our flavors, I'm like, that's my new favorite. And I can't pick. They're all so good. So GLP-1s, you're losing muscle mass very quickly. And we have to be, especially dangerous for women because we're more prone to osteoporosis. But everyone, this is, we have to be very hyper-focused on the protein because what we'll have is an epidemic of osteoporosis, a crisis in that, and frail individuals who have, dramatic bone deficiencies. So that's really important. And the other thing is that people's microbiome is suffering because they're not getting this diversity of different things, different kinds of foods, fruits, vegetables, prebiotics, probiotics. So we have to be really mindful that we're consuming friendly bacteria, foods with friendly bacteria, fermented foods. It's the number one thing that you can consume on a GLP-1.
Yeah, and I was just back at Duke, and they are doing some of the leading research on Alzheimer's.
Yep.
And, one of the things they're, just continuing to chip away at, inflammation is clearly that, and it starts in the gut biome. So it just feels like you have so many of these macro trends, coming your way.
Yeah.
You talked about some misinformation. Like, what what is the what's the misconception of what you guys do, or what, it feels like there's so many good tailwinds. Like what's the headwind that like you're looking ahead and you feel like you need to continue to combat?
I think still this idea that dairy's bad. That dairy's bad. Dairy is inflammatory. Dairy is mucus forming. That might be true for like a regular glass of milk. By the way, I still love drinking milk. Yeah. Definitely a dairy girl. But fermented dairy reduces inflammation, and that is not getting around to people. I still have doctors, when I go into a doctor's office and they say, drink low fat. If you're drinking milk, drink low fat milk. Big misconception. Whole milk is as beneficial to our health and does not cause cardiovascular disease, especially fermented dairy. So there's these misconceptions. I still hear doctors saying, oh, if you're taking antibiotics, make sure you're not using any dairy. It kills me. I mean, if you're taking an antibiotic, the number one thing you should be drinking is a fermented dairy.
Because it nukes your
wipes
body
out all of your When you take an antibiotic, which is overprescribed in our country, it's like the first thing, you wipe out your good bacteria for 6 months to 2 years. And then you have all these other side effects, and then they're chasing how to heal the side effects, when literally all they need to do is, you just consume Lifeway Kefir.
What's the right amount to drink every day? Like, is there too much? Is there obviously too little?
No, too much.
But no too much.
No such thing as too much.
So you can't have too much probiotic or too much gut biome.
No, not in a product. I mean, if you're taking like the pills and supplements, you could probably overdo it on pills, probiotic pills. Oh, let's talk about probiotic pills. This is please. Another great misconception now that we're on this topic. So people take probiotic pills. They're mostly doing nothing. Yeah. The gut is very acidic, and it can't survive. The probiotic pills can't survive the acidic gut environment. Scientists out of UC Davis found that not all probiotics are the same, and that when it's inoculated in a dairy source, like in Lifeway Kefir, that dairy kind of coats the probiotic and creates an environment, a wall that survives that acidic gut and goes all the way through the process. And studies out of Chicago, actually, Dr. Goldberg and Dr. O'Mara, they wrote the Go Diet. They studied fecal matter of people who used Lifeway Kefir and people who didn't, and they found that it was still living and active in the final finish, through the end. That's really important, because if you want your probiotic to do anything, it needs to survive that entire digestive process. And it really starts in the mouth. As soon as you drink a little bit, it starts to coat your mouth. It's got great dental benefits.
I feel it.
Yeah. Down your throat, all of it. It's really important to get it through a food source, through a natural food source. So that's another thing I'd love to point out. And then the prebiotics. We're all hearing about prebiotics. You really don't need prebiotics. Every time you have a piece of fruit or vegetable, you're getting prebiotics. You can have an apple, have a banana, some lettuce, kale, all of it. You really don't. But the prebiotics are a source of food for the probiotics. So it is important to have them.
What advice do you have for another immigrant coming to the U.S. that like has that thing that's missing from their home country? Like, I have a friend that's got this beauty brand. She's Indian, and this has completely blown up in the last 5 years. And it's taking a lot of the natural types of like makeup products that Indian women would use. Same thing, like thousands of years in there, and then marketing that to the allo generation, as you called it. Like, what are some piece of advice you have for somebody to go do that?
Do it. Start. Start now. Start now. You'll be happy you did. Start. And I think looking for a natural community within your product line. So start with your Indian community, get like a little bit of, support within your base, and get kind of a foundation, get proof of concept, and then just continue to scale it. It's literally just like that. I mean, that I think about how we started, and it was by really doing it great and making a difference to our community that nobody was, reaching out to. Nobody was marketing to Soviet immigrants. Like nobody cared about us, but we marketed to ourselves. My dad literally helped media, like ethnic European media companies start so that he would have an outlet by which to do marketing and advertising. There were no like Russian newspapers, Russian radio stations at the time, but he helped.
Right.
His
And today
friends.
that's building your community newsletter or your fan club.
Exactly.
And owning your audience.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Cameo. Like we did a great collab together.
We did.
Where we were launching these new flavors. These are like these exotic flavors like passion fruit lychee or guava. Anyways, they're very like exotic tropical flavors. So we invited the cast of Love Island to help us spread the message. And we did like cameos with them. And that was a really cool partnership. It's the first time we tried to do something like that. And that was a really great way to spread the message. And it's things like that. Doing it over and over again. It's not like one thing is going to check the box. I have people who think like entrepreneurs come to me and they're like, oh, we got a write-up in an article in Forbes or Fortune. And they think it's going to be the thing that changes their trajectory. It might, but it'll take like 1,000 more of those. It's not one.
Yes.
It's not one thing that you check the box.
And at the same time, like the bad thing that happens, right? It's not, that's not going to kill you unless you let it.
Yes.
What are the brands that, like consumer brand, what's like one consumer brand you're obsessed with, and what's one consumer brand your daughters are obsessed with right now?
Oh gosh. Oh, there are so many.
And I just learned about Labubu.
Labubu. So we had the original, us Slavic girls, we had Cheburashka. Cheburashka looks like Labubu. I really think that they stole the thing because it looks identical. But we had Cheburashka. I still have one in my house somewhere. They're obsessed with everything matcha right now, but I would say Erewhon as a brand is something that is like, it's a line item in my house, and their smoothies. We were one of the featured smoothies. We did a collab with Nara Smith, and that went viral. Like everybody's like, how do we hack the Nara Smith Wellness from Scratch smoothie? So whether you're in Erewhon, in LA or you're in South Dakota, you could make it by hacking the recipe. So that's a big one. I mean, they're obsessed with a lot of beauty brands right now, lots of beverages, all the alternative beverages, but matcha, my kids make matcha from scratch. Like they do the whole whisking, the everything and every day. What else? I mean, Poppy, of course, everyone's Poppy. They're definitely a North Star for us. Those are some of them.
Well, it's also interesting just how much healthier like your daughter's generation is than ours.
Oh,
right.
my
You
God.
see it in alcohol sales. I happen to be very fortunate to like be an early investor in Liquid Death. And I remember when I told people about that, they're like, that's a water company. Like, what the hell are you doing? But, you go see that, you go to the concerts now and like people don't want to drink.
Right.
And, as they're being more conscious about that, there's the natural tailwind for everything that you're doing as well.
Yeah. People, they don't want to be out late dancing in clubs. They want to rave in the morning. That's a big trend, like morning day party, dance parties. We sponsor a lot of those with Daybreaker and other things like that. Like people want to dance, have a great time, drink like healthy beverages and invest in their own health, and they just feel better. I think there is this opportunity to reach this new generation who's already there. We don't have to convince them. They are looking for it. They're seeking it out. And, they really also want brands that are not just like talking to them and like advertising. They want activation. They want
and they're
community.
Authentic.
Authentic, like organic engagement. They want community. They want to feel the brand come to life. Like we, partnered up with Poosh and the Kardashians at Coachella, and we had like an activation at Coachella. Unexpected. Like,
I was there.
why
I saw it.
Oh, right. We were there. We ran into each other. Right. So, it's an unexpected, place to talk to our consumers at a music festival. We started that. Another unhinged thing I did.
Did we get through the whole list?
I mean, there's still a bunch to go, but Bonnaroo was one of the first ones
Great.
we ever did.
Love Bonnaroo. Let's talk Bonnaroo.
I love Bonnaroo. We did Bonnaroo. Oh my God. I signed us up for Bonnaroo. It's in Tennessee and you have to camp. And this was one of our very first activations, probably like 20 years ago. This is really, really early. So we're camping. It was me and the woman who now is my VP of operations and a young man in marketing. And we pitched a tent. So we slept in a tent together. And then in the morning, it's all for the sponsors. In the morning, the bathrooms are community bathrooms. And so there's boys and girls, men and women in the bathrooms. And, we're just trying to get to our sampling station to go give out Lifeway. And I get out of the shower and I just see a naked man who just woke up. I'm 5 feet tall and he was much taller. So that's a vision I'll never forget. That's an unhinged moment.
Did you give him a free sample?
I did. Of course, I give them out everywhere I go. You need this. So things like that. But just building community authentically is, I think, something that we do really well.
Yeah, and everybody talks about that. Everybody talks about building community. You've built community. Your whole business has been built by a community and fostering that and then expanding it. That's the thing a lot of people don't do, right? Yep. Taking it out of the original group and like finding, the next group to add to the tribe. What are some lessons that you would give a young entrepreneur about building community around their mission?
Today we spend a big chunk of that budget into like directing digital, bringing users in digitally because it's our third home is our social media and our phones. I think during the pandemic, we really doubled down on digital before anyone else did. We turned all of our in-person activations, brought them online. We hosted like 300 Instagram live sessions with all these experts of everything. We got so many new users. We grew our consumer base by like 320,000 new users came in, and we've tracked them, and 70% continue to buy Lifeway every single week now. That's insane. It's insane, like unheard of. And it was because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Meeting.
Not just because of the pandemic, it's because of the community that you gave people during the pandemic.
Exactly.
Right. That's the important thing.
Yes. And continuing to build upon that community and inviting people into the tent. So democratizing it, making it accessible, making it understandable, finding ways to relate, finding different kinds of ambassadors, unexpected ambassadors. We used to only kind of have women as our ambassadors. Women did majority of the grocery shopping back in the day. That is totally flipped on its head. We are a brand that meets the moment and watching kind of what's happening in the cultural zeitgeist and, seeing the more equal balance of household chores, watching kind of demographics and seeing young people stay single longer, not necessarily living with others, that has all changed the entire landscape. Now we are communicating to men. We want men to sit and drink a bottle and hold it and go to the grocery store and buy it.
And ask for it.
We've never talked to men before as a consumer base. They were, it wasn't like something that you would spend money in. But
Julie,
today,
I did it for Pilates. I can do it for you too.
I know. You have started the entire Pilates movement, Steve. I love it. That's right. But that's true. I mean, these kinds of shifts in culture are moments of opportunity for us.
Yeah.
New users.
All right. This has been absolutely amazing. And we have one last question that we always ask everybody. Julie, what is your death row meal and who would you share it with? And you could have up to 4 people.
Oh, I could
alive
share
or
it
dead.
With alive or dead. Okay. Wow. Okay. So the meal would be Gino's East Pizza and Peanut butter. I love peanut butter.
Peanut butter is actually the funniest thing. Every year, I remember when we'd go back to Greece, that was like the one thing that everybody always asked us to bring back. It was peanut butter out of everything from America.
Crazy.
We go to Sparta, Greece, and they want peanut butter.
It's so good.
Are you chunky or smooth?
I like them both.
And
Different times.
what's your pizza at Gino's East?
Mushrooms and sliced tomatoes. It's like my favorite. And I'm not in Chicago all the time anymore. But whenever I come, I get it. It's my meal. Yeah. So Gino's caviar, black caviar. I'm a true Slavic girl. Give me my.
Are you putting it on the Gino's East? Or are you gonna put it on the pizza or no?
I haven't tried it, but that's a good idea because now, like, definitely I
feel like at
caviar
Milan and all these places, you're like starting to see like caviar and pizza
in random place. Like that's having a moment for sure. I would definitely try it. I love our black caviar on top of our farmer's cheese with like a crisp, as Bethany Frankel does it. She gave me a good idea. And then I don't know. I guess, probably. Okay, who I would have it with? Oprah. She's definitely still on my list of people to spend time with. I'd love to have a meal with my dad. That would be amazing. And then, my daughters.
And I know where you're hosting it. You're hosting it in New Orleans.
Yes.
At one of the fun facts among many about Julie is that Julie owns Lenny Kravitz's house in the French Quarter. And in fact, we threw my dad's 75th birthday party there this year during Super Bowl. And I want to thank you for that, Julie. And the one thing I didn't tell you is Mother's Day, we just went to New York to go see Denzel and in Othello. Mm-hmm. And who sat right in front of my dad? Lenny Kravitz.
Oh my God, I love it. Did you tell him? Did you get a chance to talk?
My dad first you could just tell that there are people that have the aura. He looks like a rock star more than anyone I think I've ever seen in my life.
Agree.
So my dad had no idea who he was, but he looked, he's kind of looking at him and he's like, and then my dad's like, Steven, who is that? And I go, Dad, that's Lenny Kravitz. And he was like, it wasn't, I'm like, the house that we were at for your birthday. He's like, oh. So then he goes and taps him on the shoulder right in front, and the security's looking. He goes, Lenny, I'm not a fan. I just want to let you know, I partied in your house in New Orleans for my 75th birthday. And it was just all time.
And he must have been so happy.
He was so happy.
He loves the house.
He was so happy.
He calls when he's in town and he likes to show people. Yeah. It's so funny because if he ever hears this, he reached out when he was in New Orleans to do a little walkthrough and show some of his friends. And we have cameras in the house. We're not there all the time. So we have cameras there. And we were like, we have cameras. So And he goes, man, I'm not going to steal anything. We're like, no, just for your own comfort.
Or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, I just wanted him to know, just so you know.
Yeah, we're not spying.
We're not spying. But I don't think he caught on. And to this day, we still feel bad that this miscommunication, I don't know if he thinks, man, those people thought I was going to steal something. I don't know. Hopefully he knows. But when he was over at Jazz Fest, he headlined this year for Jazz Fest, and he set it off the stage and gave the address that night. This is my birthday. I had a big birthday party. At 3 a.m, the alarm goes off from New Orleans, and I'm not in the condition to deal with this. We're calling New Orleans police. I can't dial 911 because then it goes to the city that I'm in. So anyways, it was all this whole ordeal. Somebody jumped the fence, tried to break in. It was an ordeal. We're like, please don't break the door down because it's really hard to get the material. It's really hard to build in the French Quarter, old 200-year-old Creole material.
And this place, guys, is as epic as you imagine it is. All right, Julie, closing words of wisdom to everybody out there that has an idea, wants to make it work. What do you tell them?
Trust your gut. Follow your gut. Trust your gut. Love your gut. Take care of yourself.
Keep your gut healthy.
Yes. Drink Lifeway Kefir. That's number one. And take care of yourself. I think as an entrepreneur, it's really hard to get into the grind, to, burnout. I've definitely felt it myself. And the number one thing is put on your own oxygen mask before you can help anyone else. You're of no good if you are burned out.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Little things every day. If you can make one or two really good decisions every day, you've done a great job. Put the right people on the bus, build a great support system around yourself, have the best lawyers money can buy. Those are some of the things.
What would you tell 27-year-old Julie right now?
Oh, I would tell her that I'm so proud of her, that I love her, that she's amazing, and that she's already won.
Julie, thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. This was
Awesome.
great, really great.
So much
I
fun.
really appreciate this conversation,
No,
and
this
I
was-
love all you're doing here.
This was amazing. And go out, go get your kefir. This is actually amazing. I've probably drank half of it already.
Oh,
and I hope to try all the flavors.
Thank
I got
you.
200 left.
That's right.
All right, thank you.